Has infidelity turned your marriage upside down? Before you file for divorce, you need to know how adultery impacts your legal rights. From alimony to custody battles, the law can surprise you, and it varies by state. Uncover the shocking ways cheating can affect your divorce outcome and what you can do to protect yourself. Watch now to learn what the law really says about adultery and divorce. When couples face the painful reality of infidelity, one question often looms large. How does adultery affect divorce proceedings in the United States? The legal system can feel like a maze, with rules varying by state, and the emotional weight of betrayal only complicates things. Let's break it down clearly, focusing on what the law actually says about adultery and divorce, so you can understand your rights and options. In the U.S., divorce laws are governed at the state level, which means the impact of adultery depends on where you live. Broadly speaking, there are two types of divorce: fault-based and no-fault. In a fault-based divorce, one spouse must prove the other did something wrong, like adultery, to justify ending the marriage. No-fault divorce, on the other hand, allows couples to split without proving wrongdoing, citing irreconcilable differences or an irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. Most states now offer no-fault divorce, but about 15 still allow fault-based grounds, including adultery. Adultery is legally defined as voluntary sexual intercourse between a married person and someone who isn't their spouse. In states that recognize fault-based divorce, like South Carolina or Georgia, proving adultery can influence key aspects of the divorce, such as alimony, property division, and even custody in some cases. For example, in South Carolina, if a spouse proves adultery, the court may bar the cheating spouse from receiving alimony. This can be a significant financial hit, especially for a spouse who relied on their partner's income. However, proving adultery isn't always easy. Courts typically require clear evidence, like text messages, photos, or witness testimony, not just suspicions or accusations. In no-fault, states like California or Florida, adultery generally has less direct impact on divorce outcomes. These states focus on dividing assets and determining support based on financial need, not moral judgments. But even here, adultery can matter indirectly. If a spouse spent significant marital funds on an affair, say, on gifts, trips, or hotel rooms, courts might consider this dissipation of assets. The innocent spouse could receive a larger share of the remaining marital property to offset the loss. Child custody is another area where adultery might come into play, though it's not the primary factor. Courts prioritize the best interests of the child, so unless the affair directly harms the child, like exposing them to inappropriate situations, it's unlikely to sway custody decisions. For instance, if a parent's affair involved bringing a new partner around the kids in a way that caused emotional harm, a judge might factor that in. Otherwise, courts tend to separate personal infidelity from parenting ability. Alimony is where adultery often has the biggest impact in fault-based states. In places like North Carolina, courts can reduce or deny alimony to a spouse who committed adultery, especially if the other spouse was financially dependent. But timing matters. If the affair happened after the couple separated, some states, like Virginia, may not penalize it as harshly. And in some cases, if both spouses cheated, courts might treat it as a wash, neutralizing the fault argument. Property division can also be affected, though it's less common. In equitable distribution states, which is most of the U.S., assets are split fairly, but not always equally. If adultery led to significant financial waste, courts might adjust the division to compensate the innocent spouse. Community property states like Texas or Arizona, however, split assets 50-50 regardless of fault, so adultery rarely changes the outcome there. One wrinkle to watch for is prenuptial agreements. If your prenup includes an infidelity clause, it could dictate specific penalties for adultery, like reduced alimony or asset shares. These clauses are enforceable in many states, provided they're clear and legally sound. But without a prenup, you're at the mercy of state law. Emotionally, Adultery can make divorce feel like a battle, but legally, it's just one piece of a larger puzzle. Whether you're in a fault or no-fault state, the best approach is to consult a family law attorney who knows your state's rules. They can help you gather evidence, navigate court requirements, and protect your interests, whether it's securing alimony, custody, or a fair share of assets. Divorce is never easy, but understanding the law can help you move forward with clarity and confidence.